Now, the Bram Weinstein Show on Washington's new home for sports, ESPN 630.
Hey, babies. Hey, babies. Hey, babies. Hi, everyone. What's up, everybody? How we doing?
Nice to have you in studio today.
My child went to school today, so I got to.
No, that's good.
Got to come in here today.
If you didn't hear it live,
have you rewired this thing because you're supposedly maybe going to do something out in the field very soon, and if you do,
right,
we can't have that because I don't know how to do what you did.
Well, that's right. Well, you wouldn't be producing anyways. We have sent.
That means I'm going to have to go with you.
The powers.
Oh darn!
No, you got to go to a casino.
Oh darn!
The powers that be, no. So, I mean, you could come. I don't know if you're getting a talent fee. That's the whole thing if that happens. So,
yeah. They'll give me some free drinks.
Yeah,
probably.
Right? Yeah, probably.
Probably hook me up with that.
Yeah.
First night of the tournament. Pretty good. I'll think about it.
All right. Okay. I'm just letting you know the terms. That's all.
Okay. Yeah, I know. They're not going to give me anything.
But it's still not a bad thing. Well, we can't say it because
I know. We don't
we
have
still
a
need to
deal.
sign things.
Yeah,
Still need to sign things over
We
here.
may be somewhere on Thursday maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right. We'll see, because it really should be an American holiday.
I agree.
Those first 2 days of the NCAA tournament are the greatest days of the sports, period. Even if you know nothing about the teams, it's the greatest days.
I was literally just telling this morning Barbara Britt, one of the anchors over at WMAL in the next room over, and she was saying, how do I condense this on Thursday, Friday? I goes, just if there's a big upset, that's all you have to worry about. If there's a big upset, pass it along. Mm-hmm. And she goes,
and mention the local teams.
Well,
that's
right.
It.
And she said, well, why? And I go, well, because these are the two least productive days in America when it comes to working. And she didn't know that. And I was like, and no one works these days.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Tell your boy Trump, don't worry about it. You don't need to tweet stuff on Thursday. Nobody's going to be paying attention. Everybody's locked in from noon until midnight, period.
That is one thing I wish Trump would have done was the bracket, like Barack did the bracket.
He should.
It would have been amazing.
He picks all red state teams.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Be amazing.
I love Duke. They're the best.
UCLA, they're the worst.
Yeah. You're a little too Brooklyn there. Yeah. That wasn't Trump.
Yeah, you're the worst. Yes. Terrible. He's got Alabama going to the championship.
Oh, yeah, Alabama's going all the way. All the Florida teams keep advancing.
Yeah,
all of them.
Alabama's playing Tennessee in the championship.
I love the
suddenly.
Gators. They're the best.
They're the best. Yeah, all the Florida teams. He loves them.
All moving in advance.
He's like, Rick Pitino has no case. Get out of here. You weren't robbed. Shouldn't even been on the bubble. What kind of bubble we talking about? Big bubble, small bubble, huge bubble? What kind of bubble is this?
See, he did that wrong because he would have been made fun of, but everyone would have watched.
Everybody would have watched.
And would have referenced it.
His bracket would be amazing.
It would have been terrible.
It'd be amazing.
Actually, no, it's wrong. He probably would have had crazy picks and gotten a bunch of them because that's just what this tournament is.
That's right. He's taking Grand Canyon.
Yes. Kent State.
Yeah. He likes all the weird ones. Yeah, all the weird ones. He likes all the weird ones. He's able to go counter to everybody. That's it. Yeah. All right. Let's see. At 4 o'clock, we're going to do a sports radio segment. I'm going to go back to the things I hate about the NCAA tournament because I do love it.
How do we make it better?
Make it better.
Okay.
Make it better.
Good.
But I want to start with everybody's freakout news that came out today, which is the Commanders are going to go to Ann Arbor and literally visit with JJ McCarthy.
Sure.
The Giants are also apparently going to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to assume the Patriots will too, and I'm going to assume the Vikings might go do that as well because the Vikings have placed themselves in a position to make a move for him.
Yep.
That's what I think.
Sure.
Because they're not getting Caleb. They're not going to number 1. The Bears wouldn't trade it. Even if they wanted, they'd have to give him 15 first-round picks if they wanted to actually go up and do that. I don't think we're trading.
What was the joke with them last year? Didn't they offer up like 5 first-round picks?
Supposedly. I didn't believe that. I didn't believe it because if that was true, how did that trade not happen?
Right.
Come on.
I'm just throwing it out there.
How did that trade not happen if that's what they were like? Come on. Especially if the Bears wanted nothing to do with the guy.
Right.
Why wouldn't they have done it? Like, that's crazy. Like, that would have been the worst trade in NFL history.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. I mean,
that one.
I would argue.
Worst trade in NFL history.
I would argue trading your entire draft for a running back is up there.
That's pretty bad.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things.
That happened a couple times. The Herschel Walker trade famously is a terrible, terrible trade. Right. The Ricky Williams trade is a Charlie Casser's going, I know.
Yeah.
Terrible, terrible trade. The Trey Lance trade's looking pretty awful.
They survived
The
it, though.
Bryce Young trade is looking pretty awful right now.
We're only 1 year in.
I know, but the Bears are about to get Caleb Williams. and they have their first-round pick next year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for sure.
You think they're going to be much better than that?
No, it's a top 10 pick.
Probably. Probably.
That's conservative, by the way.
Anyway, all right, so let's do the freak-out meter. I'll do congratulations to Scott Abraham, who got a promotion to... I
saw that, yeah.
I didn't know he wasn't the sports director.
I assumed he was, yeah.
I guess.
My bad, Scott.
Like, what were you then? Who was above you in the department?
I mean...
I was like, when I saw it, I'm like, congratulations. I thought that was already your job. But whatever.
Somebody that was...
Semantics.
Someone that was just promoted to, upper management.
Right.
You're just taking over some administrative things, I'd say.
Oh, that's what it is.
That's probably what it is, yes.
We fired a producer and you're doing that
Most
now.
likely, yeah.
We took away your resources.
You're still doing all the other things.
Yeah, we took away your resources. You're going to do more. Give me a new title. At least you're smart enough to ask for it. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, right.
So congratulations to you. Where was I going with that? I don't even remember.
You said congrats, Scott, because... You were going with JJ McCarthy and all of that?
I don't even know what I'm talking about. Oh, all right. So forget it. I lost my train of thought. We're going there, right?
Yes, correct.
We're going there. Oh, because he does his vibe check.
Yes.
So I want to do a Scott vibe check because what was the appropriate level of freak out that the Commanders would visit with him, which I should be a -2, but considering how everybody reacted to Dan Quinn, I expected some people to go to a 9.5 because they don't want him at number 2. And I'm assuming we're not trading out of number 2. I'm assuming that.
Right.
If we were, it probably would be to get him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That would be go to 4?
I would think a little bit lower, but I don't know. I
5?
think you're shaking out, yeah.
Because Minnesota is primed, I think, to get him.
Yeah.
They're not getting Caleb. We don't think they're getting Jaden Daniels because I think we're taking him or Drake May.
Right.
And if we're not moving, well, they're not getting one of those two. And I think if we took Drake May, I think the Patriots would just stay put and take Jaden Daniels, which means they wouldn't get him either. So why would they acquire these picks, knowing they can't trade with Chicago, probably not trading with us because it moves us down too far, and potentially, but unlikely, to trade with New England, especially if their guy is there? It's to go to 4 with Arizona and get JJ McCarthy. That's what I think. That's what I think is happening. I think the Giants are also considering or hoping that he might land on them. And I'll get to them in a minute because I don't see how this is tenable, that they have Jones and him together. Because this is different than, I know people are using examples like Alex Smith did it with Pat Mahomes and others. Alex Smith was very far into his career at that point. He had been with that staff for a long time. They had reached a ceiling, and he was, to his credit, a really good teammate amid knowing it was his last year. I don't think Jones would act that way.
Well, and also,
I really don't.
The Chiefs have a history of...
I think Jones would demand a trade that they can't get because they can't eat the contract and nobody would give them anything. If Justin Fields got a 6th-round pick, what's Dimes getting at this point?
Well, the Chiefs also had a history of being a competent organization at that point, too. They had multiple eras with the Trent Green and then to Smith, really. There was a lot of junk in between. But for largely, you weren't hearing about... controversies with the Chiefs. He knew they were going to do right by him, and they did. They traded him to Washington, where he was going to be the starter, right? Dimes is going, you guys are so incompetent. I don't believe you're going to do this right. He's not going to go quietly into the night. It's pretty much what you're getting, is what I'm alluding to. Because the Giants...
This is a different situation.
The Giants aren't competent, is what I'm saying.
Right, and I believe the Rich Eisen thing. They want out of this buyer's remorse.
Sure. Yeah.
There's no way to get out of it because you can't trade the contract. So... you're assuming they would draft him and he would just either sit behind him or beat him out. And then you've got a $40 million quarterback who should be in the prime of his career sitting on the bench. That's not going to work out very well.
Will Danny Dimes go play beer pong with him in Hoboken?
No.
Because Eli did.
No.
Remember that?
No, he's not going to do it. But Eli was way into his career by the time they did this.
And they ruined his streak, so he didn't really care at that
now
point.
McAdoo ruined
the streak. So he's like, whatever. I don't care about playing anymore.
This is different. I've heard some of these people, he'll be a good teammate. No, he won't.
Right, yeah.
No, he won't. This is different. This is not going to work out very well. But back to us going up there. Okay. One, I think half the people on Twitter are hoping that JJ pulls a Ben Johnson and texts us not to show up while we're mid-flight.
I did see Ben joke about that, Ben Standing. He said hopefully he doesn't text them during the flight not to come.
Same joke.
Yeah,
all right.
Okay.
Ben, same wavelength.
Yeah.
Same joke. All right. Secondarily, assuming he won't do that and we will go there, is there an appropriate freak out for this?
Yeah,
because I got to tell you, and I don't think I need to do a straw poll on this. If they pick him with the second overall pick,
if they do
I don't think it's going to land very well.
If they do it at 2, everyone's freaking out.
Right, but I will go back to, remember when they hired Dan Quinn and everybody lost their you-know-what about it?
This is different.
And then within a few weeks, everybody realized, because every person in the NFL, every person without fail, there wasn't one person you could find that went, you hired the wrong guy. Not a single. In fact, everybody went, that guy's going to be amazing for you. And then everybody came around to, go DQ.
Yeah,
DQ, baby. I'm wearing my hat backwards now, baby.
That's right.
That's right.
Remember,
run through a wall.
Just remember, it takes nothing for this fan base to flip around. That's the funny part, by the way. No one's ever dug in. That's the thing.
Let's just say they do this.
At 2?
Would everybody flip around and just trust that they picked the person they think is going to be really good?
I need to clarify this. There's 2 freak out meters. The meeting is a -10 freak out. There shouldn't be any freak out.
I agree.
They are just doing.
You meet everybody.
You're doing your due diligence.
Yes.
Because every team talks about this. You meet with these guys, especially if it doesn't work out with the team they get drafted to, that you know who they are. So then if he gets cut and you want him to be a backup and you know he's a good dude, you bring him in, right? Because you know him,
There's also no issue with other teams knowing you're interested in him as part of whether you call it smokescreen or not, because they may or may not be. That's the point. We'll get to that. They may or may not be. Right. There's no problem with, oh, crap, they're looking at him?
Yeah, that's right.
There's nothing with the number 2 pick. You want everybody guessing what you're doing.
It costs you $600 at Ruth's Chris to, freak everyone out. That's what happens.
Listen. They have no problem getting investors into this club. They'll find the money.
That's right. Yeah,
it's a flight to Michigan.
That's right.
They take him out to a nice dinner. That's right. Seems like a nice chap. Harbaugh has vouched for him. Sounds like we'll be fine.
Are they courtside at the Pistons game?
Maybe. No, they're not going to that. Unless it's the Sixers, we're out. We're out. So anyway, I'm with you. The visit is a -10.
Correct. Yeah.
So when I saw some of the freak out, I'm like, they're just visiting with a high-profile quarterback. Don't read into it. It is what it is. And for a variety, why wouldn't they, before they get to the draft, meet with all high caliber potential picks? It doesn't mean they're picking
This
him.
goes back to the Jamarcus Russell draft, where they met with Jamarcus Russell, even though they knew he was going to get drafted by the Raiders at 2? I think
1.
He was number 1. That's right. Mm-hmm. It was they're not getting him, but you just do your due diligence. You bring him in for the meeting just in case. Just in case they don't draft him, or you want to bring him in.
I don't think he's Jamarcus Russell, but does JJ McCarthy drink purple drink? I don't think he does.
He knows what that is.
That'd be a good question. Do you know what purple drink is?
Because I joke that JJ is a cult leader, but he knows what other drinks are. Sort of saying.
I have a feeling he drinks Prime. That's what I think. He might be into
it makes me hate him more.
Yeah, or
I
Celsius.
Like Jamarcus
He's
more.
into Celsius now.
Wait, don't knock Celsius. Celsius is good.
No, it isn't.
I'm drinking for my race on Saturday, and I was
okay.
Awesome,
so you're juicing yourself up. It's like
juice. It's just caffeine.
No, it's the legal. No, forget it. All right.
No, wait. No, don't let this one go. I drink it all the time before my long runs.
No wonder you're all jacked
before
up.
my long runs. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
You're going to see a study in the not too distant future about that drink.
I can get
it
at
Prime for that matter.
I get it at 7-Eleven. It's got to be fine.
Yeah. They're playing fast and loose with that drink.
It works.
Go ask Sammy Sosa about that one. I bet you ran real fast. Would you tell me before the show?
You
did a half marathon, and what happened?
All negative splits, yeah.
Yeah, right. You got faster as the race went along.
That's because I train really hard.
You're first-time LASIK. That's what you are. I've seen this in horse racing forever. They juiced you up. You got juiced up.
I'm more pissed that you're discounting my training. I worked my ass off to get to that race.
I agree with you, and I'm proud of you, and I'm happy you did it, and you were using drugs.
Oh, my God. Stop it. You're accusing me of cheating. I'm mad at you right now.
No. Mark my words. That Celsius drink, there's some kind of study's going to come out about it in the not too distant future, and it's not going to be a pretty picture.
If it makes you perform better, who cares?
Okay, tell that to Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, and Roger Clemens.
Mark McGuire's a bench coach. Didn't even get a ban from the league.
He's not in the Hall of Fame, should be.
Well, you know.
Oh, because he took stuff to make him better. What happened to the so what part about that?
Ask every baseball fan if they missed the steroid era.
I do. I never cared in the first place. I never cared. End?
Right.
What's your point?
So what's your point that I
he
ran
still
fast?
has to hit the ball.
Right.
He still has to hit a ball that's going 100 miles an hour at him. That takes a skill. There's no drug for that.
And I still have to run 13.1 miles.
Right.
How much did it help?
I'm just telling you. There's a report coming out about that thing.
It's not.
There will.
It's like any
when
other
it does, I can't wait to play the breaking news theme and I read it.
Where's the study on Red Bull then? Because that should have come out 10
They
years ago,
have done
too.
those, and they have found that taurine isn't that bad for you.
Okay.
They did studies on it because they were worried about it. This one is times 11. This one turned it up to 11. That's why I know it's going to come out. Anyway, back to JJ. All right, I'm with you. Let's not freak out about them visiting. Why would you?
Right.
There's no reason to.
No reason for that.
But
now,
because they are.
Now, if you are doing the meter on 2, that's different.
Right. So they still are picking at number 2. He's become, over the last few weeks, the darling of the couldy, wouldy, shouldy jump Drake May. You can't compare him to Daniels. They're different players. Mm-hmm. But if you're just going with the pocket quarterback guy who might have a little agility to him, he's not as big as Drake May, so the metrics on that won't be the same. But but then people go watch him. They say the coaches are going to love him because he does exactly what he's supposed to do within the offense, and he hasn't been quote unquote unleashed to do outside of it. But it shows that he's coachable.
JJ Ovechkin over there,
right? Drake May, yeah. Drake May, on the other hand, is a little more gunslingery, and some people don't love the decisions that he makes. Right. And therein lies this difference. And, oh, by the way, one guy won the national championship, and the other guy, who's supposedly a better quarterback, made a junky bowl game.
Right.
In a not great conference.
And you also...
In a conference that's not even close as competitive as the one that JJ was in. And I don't want to discount Michigan's team is very, very, very good, and North Carolina's is fine. That's to be fair.
The gunslinger mentality's got to be scaring teams, too, because you're watching Josh Allen do these crazy athletic things, but then he makes the most boneheaded interception you've seen that week.
I don't think Drake May could be him.
No, I know. But
I think he could.
I just mean the gunslinger, taking risks thing. You and I talk about all the time how he does these crazy things, but then he throws an interception. You're like, what were you looking at? Because I could see that was the wrong throw.
Allen, this is what I think about Allen. Allen, I think his entire career up until the NFL, he was the most ridiculous player on the field. Clearly in high school he was. Clearly in college he was. Yeah. He was never particularly accurate. When he got to the NFL, he actually found out that he was that there too. But he had to learn how to play the position because the mistakes kill you. The games are too close. Turnovers will kill you. Being inaccurate, taking dumb sacks, it'll kill you. Yeah. You just can't win. And to his credit, he's gotten a lot better, right? But the athleticism is still there. And the cowboy mentality of I'm going to run you over is still there. Drake May isn't this. Drake May is not as fast. Right, he's not as accomplished a runner. He should be a more accurate passer coming in, but there are accuracy issues with him, which is my biggest reservation with him. And I think Keim said this, and I agreed with him, because I've watched a lot of them too, because I'm priming for we're taking him or Daniels. That's how, but sure. I'll get back to JJ, because now I don't want to watch him. I just assumed that was not happening.
At least those games are easily accessible.
Yeah, they are. With Drake May, Keim said this, and I agreed with it in watching him. He missed a lot of layups. Mm. And that part is a touch problematic to me. The easy stuff kind of goes by the wayside with him sometimes. There are Herbert. He looks more like a more mobile Herbert to me than really anything else. The size, the arm, the stature in the pocket. He's willing to stay in there. He's a little bit quicker than him. He's athletic. He can move. He's not Josh Allen, though. He's not that fast. And I don't think he's that crazy. Right? I don't see when he plays. Allen plays like he's crazy sometimes. Right. He almost got possessed, and he wants to run people over. And then, you're like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And he seems like he likes it. I don't see that with Drake May. I see more Herbert than I do with a little mobility to him. I think Herbert's more accurate than he is.
That sounds right.
That's what I mean. And granted, he's been in the league a few years, but
we're about to really see it with Herbert this year. I mean,
Herbert
with
also has.
Gone.
I think Drake May has a terrific arm. Herbert's got a crazy arm,
Yep.
so I don't know. Like, it's not just the distance. He's got velocity on his passes that is really insane.
Yep.
So I don't know if he's going to. I need to see that in person to see if he's really that. But anyway, the darling of the draft for the last few weeks has been this narrative that, you really got to take a closer look at JJ McCarthy, because I know what his stats look like, and I know everybody thinks they were a running team and it was their defense and they had a good coach, and that's why they were propelled to a national championship. And he's kind of Brock Purdy in it. Like, they could have dropped anybody in there. And the more the scouting community and the narrative started talking about it, they're like, actually, you really should watch him. He does have the requisite arm strength. He is really good in the offense they ran. The offense was prohibitive, but it doesn't mean that he couldn't run an NFL offense. Just let him show you, and you'll see it. And there isn't anyone in the pundit community, scouting community, denying that or saying, I've heard knocks on Daniels. I've heard knocks on May. I've heard a few on Caleb. They're more about who is this guy?
Yep.
Not really his game.
Yep.
More like who is this guy? Daniels and May, for the reasons I cited, people are questioning, is he really going to be a high-level quarterback? And Daniels, they go, he might be Justin Fields.
Right.
Like, where he's really good, he's really talented, he don't win very much, maybe takes too many sacks, takes too many unnecessary hits, doesn't stay within the context of, that's what you'll hear about him. So they find knocks. I don't hear one about McCarthy, which is why I think they need to go talk to him and meet him and get to know him. But I do know that if they take him at number 2, this town is going to lose
20 out of 10.
it.
20 out of 10 panic.
100%.
Until
then,
he plays.
Right. But then we're going to have to do didn't you trust Adam Peters in the first place? And if he made this decision, why don't you trust him now? Which is what I said the day after they signed Dan Quinn. I'm like, did you forget how in love you were with that decision? It was his choice to hire this guy. Why do you all of a sudden question that? And it took a few weeks, and Quinn's different because he's been a head coach, and all the players love him. And there was validation in the NFL circles really quickly. So I think everybody's come back around to, all right, he's a good coach. Fine. He wasn't the guy we thought we were going to get, but he's a good coach. Let's give him a chance, obviously.
Right.
This one, oh boy, if he does that, Adam better be right about it, or
Correct.
it's the first one where we go, wait a minute, Aura. I thought you were
the aura changes.
Especially if Daniels goes to New England and is just chucking it all over the place, and he's C.J. Stroud. And we're like, oh, God. Or he's like, he's Lamar. And we're like, oh, God, we missed it.
Correct. Yeah, no, that's where the freak out happens. I'm with you on they're not finding enough wrong with JJ, and that's why he's moving up. But I told you this before. I believe in momentum, especially with quarterbacks going into the draft. And May has been the opposite. May has fallen.
100%.
He's as low as 4 now.
Yes.
Depending on, where he goes.
I
right?
believe when everybody says it's possible he's going to jump over him. I still think he's a top 10 pick.
Sure. Oh, yeah, totally. I'm not discounting that. But I will say Daniels still, since mid-October, has done nothing but make his stock rise and rise and rise and rise to the point of...
If you watch him, even through this year, he just kept getting better and better and better. And that's the part of it.
And I think that's where... it's so funny now, even looking at the draft, analysis where Caleb's going 1, and Daniels is going 2, and all they're doing is talking about the next, who's going to be 3 and 4. The fact that he's that much of a slam dunk tells me, don't screw it up. Just take the guy everyone's picking at number 2, because you were also just hearing any other year he'd be number 1, but it happens to be the same year as Caleb. Just take that guy. Just please take that guy. Do not talk yourself into the guy that hasn't been unlocked or unchained yet. I'm just not interested in that guy. I'm just saying. Now, I will say this. If you trade down to 4 and you acquire a bunch of picks, I am much more mellow about it. If you're going to take your shot with them.
4 and get what, May?
No. Well, 3 or 4 if you want to get JJ there. That's what I'm saying. Somebody wants to trade up and get Daniels.
So the sell is, we went down to 4.
Yeah.
But 4 is Arizona. They don't want a quarterback.
You know what I mean?
So you have to deal with somebody who wants it.
Correct.
The Giants Might. We're not trading with them.
No, we're not. Yeah, because then
especially if they take Daniels.
If he's a stud, your fan base.
We're not trading with them.
Lose it. Yeah.
Minnesota,
right,
clearly would love to talk to us. We'd have to fall to 11 though.
So this
which
goes back
means
to your other.
We're not getting a quarterback,
but
not one we want.
Could go to that theory that you read yesterday, where they trade down and then trade back up.
Then trade back up to Arizona at 4 and probably take Drake May at that point, or McCarthy.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm getting at.
That would largely depend on. Well, it won't matter what New England does at that point, unless New England takes it. But see, this is too gamed up. Like if first everybody needs to be on board with this, which is number one.
Right.
2, like what if Arizona doesn't do that?
Right.
Now you're at 11, and what? Drake May for some reason falls to 8, and then you call whoever's at 8, and there's like Atlanta who just got Cousins or whatever, and you go, would you move down? But then I'm kind of like, why did we do that?
Well, because if they get a first-round pick next year and something else, I'm just saying.
Sure.
I'm just saying.
If it ends up we give up some asset next year to get the guy we didn't want in the first place, that's not going to go very well. Right?
But if they have an extra first-round pick or 2 in their back pocket.
I know Minnesota's hot to trot. We all know this. Like they're hot to trot to do. They have to now. Like they have to. Who are they? They're calling us. They can't get to the Bears. They're calling us. They're calling New England. Mm-hmm. For which one they like, who knows? Could be Daniels, May, McCarthy. Could be any of them. Like it's not Penix or Nix because they can just wait and get those guys. Right. So they want one of those 3. How badly do they? Who do they surmise we want? They have to figure that out. And would we move down? Why would we move to 11? See, that's too far for us. We have to we just traded Sam Howell. We're clearly picking a quarterback. If we moved to 4, but why would Arizona even do it? Like, they're going to take Marvin Harrison or Neighbors. Like, it's just sitting there for them. Like, they know it. They could even drop back a couple of spots.
Right.
Why would they go up? Like, they wouldn't. Sure. There's no reason for them to do that. So we can't really leave where we are and get a guy we want. We can't. We can't. Which means if you're visiting him, you're seriously considering him.
I don't think you're seriously considering. I think you're just meeting with him. I think that's the difference. I don't think you have to read that much into it.
I see no path for them to trade out and get one of these quarterbacks.
Okay. All right.
None. So that being the case, well, we're talking to them with the possibility of selecting.
But they're going to talk with all of them, I bet.
Yeah.
Like
they're going to go to Callow's Pro Day.
Well, I was going to say, and when they they have to. When they meet with Penix, are you going to surmise the same thing?
Not for that high of a pick.
Right. So, but I'm just saying.
But right, I guess. Or Bo Nix.
Yeah, right.
Did they go to Bo Nix's Pro Day? He just had it. Were they there?
I don't know if they went.
See? They're like, Peter's like, nah.
But that happens too sometimes, where the team doesn't meet with guys that they draft anyways. That happens all the time.
If after all, okay, which one will make you crazier? JJ McCarthy is a high pick.
Okay.
Or we trade out and end up selecting Bo Nix in the second round.
Oh,
which one?
God.
Knowing that he's competing and probably going to be the starter.
If they draft one of the tackles.
Well, if they trade down, they're taking a tackle, maybe one of those receivers, a corner.
I could be suckered into that if they take one of the tackles.
So if they actually traded out, right, and went down to 11, they're getting a tackle there.
Right.
They probably got that other pick. Now all of a sudden they're getting the speed receiver, something like that. Right. Then they're taking Bo Nix with one of those second-round picks.
I don't like it, but I could hear it out.
He's going to be the starter.
Right, yeah.
And they're saying he's the future. That's what they're saying. He's the future.
I could be convinced.
Could you?
I could be convinced on that one.
When Jaden Daniels rushes for 1,700 yards and has 38 touchdowns,
we didn't unpack.
We're going to be like, we could have just taken him.
We didn't unpack the freaking out about Jaden Daniels. I was just strictly talking about our path. Now, when Jaden Daniels wins Rookie of the Year and has 2,000 yards rushing and 2,000 yards passing, I will freak out.
Then you're going to be like, we could have just taken him and not done all of this.
Mike Vick reincarnated. Right. I'm going to be pretty mad about it.
He's not going to be happy
because I've never had one in my life.
I've never had. Well, we had him for RG3 for not even a full year.
13 games.
13 games.
Or whatever it was.
Then Haloti Ngata broke him. And for some reason, he came back and got broken again.
And then the guy that was a franchise quarterback, they thought was a nerd.
Yes, that's right.
That's my fandom in a nutshell.
They blew it. Brad Johnson. They blew it with Kirk Cousins.
Trent Green.
Stan Humphries, even to a lesser, he went to a Super Bowl.
Tony Banks.
They didn't blow it with him. They got the most out of him. They got the most out of that guy. All right, we'll be right back. Bram Bush's Show, ESPN 630, Sports Capital. The Commanders did re-sign Cornelius Lucas today, 1-year deal, so he's been a very good, reliable swing tackle for them. Probably played more starts than he expected over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Good backup to have. I still don't think they have their starter. I still believe that they are going to have to go draft a tackle at this point, and if they don't, then they're going to have to go through a second wave and get a veteran in here to either he and Lucas to share it or bridge for a year. I'm assuming that they are going to draft one as well, but I thought that was a nice re-signing at once again, extremely affordable rate on a very short term. Peters knows how to manage this cap thing. And, I think they have shown a really, really disciplined attitude with coming in here with a blank slate and a lot of money to spend. And I don't think they have literally made one signing where I went, I don't know about that.
Right.
I will parse out whether Mariota's a good backup if he ends up playing.
Sure. Right.
But he also got a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
And I know why they brought him in here, and it's not to be the starter. So I don't have an issue with him as the primary backup as long as it ends up being the primary backup. And then all of these other deals, every single one of them, there's no length to them at all.
Yep.
And most of them are cap friendly. It is unbelievable the amount of signings they've made, and they still have the most cap room to spare, which is why I still believe that a swing is coming. Probably not for a tackle because most teams don't trade those.
Yep.
So it's probably not for that. It's why I still believe, even though they signed 2 corners that I think are veterans that could be potential starters and more likely backups, and when they go to a nickel situation, they could have more corners on the field. I'll buy that. I still think they're missing a number 1 corner. Forbes may become that for them, but I don't know how they could view him that way at this point. And I don't think with the others that they have on the roster currently that they have a number 1 corner. So I'm still sitting in are they drafting one relatively high, like in the second round? But it seems like they got to get a tackle. And that feels more likely to me.
Yep.
Or are they going to acquire one, and I mean by trade, because you want to get a good one, not just whoever's available, a good one. And with all this cap room, that's the thing I think they would go to Josh Harris and company and say, this is the swing we're taking and this is the money we need, because I'm sure he's rubber stamping everything they've done so far. They're all short term. None of them are cap prohibitive. Very few of them have any real guaranteed money attached to them. A lot of them are show me deals. Bobby Wagner for a year, Jeremy Chin for a year. Even George Armstrong's only a few years, and he should be fine, as a starter for them. Austin Eckler, you can get out of it after 1 year if he's not the same player that he was. Yep. Mariota's only here for a year. They're all like this, all of them. Allegretti, he's either a starter for you, but even if he's not even overpaid as a backup.
That's right.
So nothing they've done that I could see where the ownership group was explain that one to me. They all totally make sense. That's why I think there's a swing coming here. They do have a lot of cap room, and there's a couple of things they can do with it, but I think one of them is to get a corner, and I think the only way to do that at this point is probably trade for one. So we'll have to see who's available as we get closer to the draft. Right. That's what I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, it sounds like they've literally tried to sign every position they can without commitment, without a huge commitment, both financially and years-wise. And then the major ones, they're going to have to take a swing somewhere, whether it's the draft, whether it's trade, whatever. But it's only 2 to 3 positions that they have to worry about doing that.
Yes, they've been very disciplined through all of this. There were a lot of boxes to check.
Yes,
and this does feel like, I was talking to a lot of people about this. I'm like, we've seen so much turnover here, but this one feels so different. The whole team's different. I mean, from top to bottom, the whole team is different. The ownership's different. The front office is completely different. The coaching staff is completely different. And now the team is completely different.
Yep. No,
yes, there's some carryovers, but not a lot of prominent ones. John, Duran, Terry, Jahan, B-Rob. Who else? Prominent players that are carryovers here.
No, I mean, as I said, too, I really like the comparison from our friend Al Galdi, who said it was it reminded him of 2004. That maybe they didn't make the playoffs that year. They went, 6-10, 7-9, something that year?
Yeah.
Then the next year, they did make the playoffs because they had this foundation laid with all of these new starters, these veterans that brought everyone else along. That's the comparison that I kind of lay this out to. And we also know this, too. They're not going to fix this all in a year.
No, they can't.
So they're just trying to fill in as much as they can right now.
Yes, I actually think they've checked off a lot of boxes. But remember, even in doing so, a lot of these guys are on very short-term deals. So they're going to have to address these things again.
Right.
Bobby Wagner, I'm glad they got him. That's an amazing upgrade from where they are. He's only here for a year.
That's right. Yeah.
He's also in his mid-30s, right? So there's not, he's not going to be here long-term. Jeremy Chin, I think, is a total show-me. 1 year, I thought they got a deal on him.
Yep. Right.
And if he turns his career back to the way he was the first couple of years, I could see a long-term deal for him. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't, hey, we took a shot.
Yes.
But then they're going to need a safety again.
Right.
So this stuff is going to recycle again, and then we'll see what happens in this draft, which is why, I don't want to see them package too many of them. I think they recognize they need another influx of talent, and they're going to have, 6, 7 picks in the top 3 rounds.
Yep.
You're going to see a lot of young players that are going to be, hopefully, starters in year 1 to potentially year 2, and then all of a sudden you've got the basis of what you're looking for.
Yep.
We also had dueling mock drafts from the people that I pay a lot of attention to, which is Daniel Jeremiah and Mel Kiper, who put out their most recent mock drafts, and they are split on what the Commanders are doing at 2. Daniel Jeremiah is still saying Drake May.
Yep.
Mel is still saying Jaden Daniels. Daniel Jeremiah's was an asterisk of, I really don't know what they're doing, but I haven't changed my mind about this yet, and that's the only reason why I'm just leaving it this way. And Mel is more steadfast. He's the second best talent on the board. Washington clearly is going to take a quarterback. That's what I think they're going to do. Mel and Daniel, and Mel even more so, to pull the curtain up. Mel's drafts aren't just his evaluations. He, through the years, has so many connections around the league that it is shaped by the thinking around what teams are thinking about doing. What he can never really account for is whether trades will happen, and that starts to shake everything up when it happens. But so I follow him because it's not just his evaluations. I think he gets the information of what they're leaning towards. But in this case, with this team, knowing what my experience has been and what the prominent reporters in this area have been so far, these guys are tight-lipped. I don't think any of us know what literally they're doing at this point, which is why when JJ McCarthy goes there, I take it seriously. The previous administration, had they done this, I'd have a feel whether it was real or not. I don't know what these guys. They may seriously really like him. I don't know. I honestly don't know. And that's why I think it's worth having I think it's too early to freak out about it.
Yeah.
But it's not unreasonable to think they ended up on Dan Quinn because they really liked him early in the process. Sure. Maybe they really like this guy and feel like he's the right choice for them, whether you like it or not. And they're not telling anybody what they're thinking. Yeah. Nobody's got a beat on these guys yet.
Right. Well, that's why fans is short for fanatic, and that's why people are going to freak out.
I mean, I think it's good that they're this quiet about it.
Yeah, of course.
One other thing. Kenny Pickett did an interview with the Philadelphia media and described himself as having handled everything in Pittsburgh really well, which I loved, because if he did, he wouldn't be there right now.
Yes.
And knowing Tomlin, I believe this. The reason why he's in Philadelphia is because he was being, you know what?
They don't have hostages.
And they don't want anything to do with it.
That's right. Yeah.
And he also hadn't done jack. And the funniest part about the whole thing is, he's sitting there going, well, I don't want to compete with Russ. You have no shot at taking Hurts' job. Zero. He has to get hurt. There's no chance. He's not beating out Jalen Hurts. He's got no chance to do that.
Say go Birds.
So he's sitting there he's mad he had to compete with Russell Wilson to keep his job, but he's happier being in a place where there's no doubt on earth that he is the backup and has no real shot of beating him out to be the starter for that team.
I will have to correct you. I think they said he was not going to compete, that it was going to be Russ's starting gig. I thought that's what the initial.
That's how it was going to start. But if you're Pickett and you're looking at it and you're going, it's not like this guy's been incredible.
Yeah.
Why can't I beat him out?
Yeah, that's true.
Right? You go to Philadelphia, he's got this big smile on his face, he's happy and he landed in the promised land. They're not making him the starter. He's got no shot to be the starter there.
Go Birds. Let's
go
ride.
Birds.
Let's ride.
Kenny Pickett. Let's ride. If he gets in and is terrible, they're going to eat him alive.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. He could be cut halfway through the year.
Well, there's a little bit of I'm surprised they want him because he wanted out of there. Wentz, when you're a damaged animal,
right.
They jump on you like National Geographic and
Correct.
They eat you. You're the gazelle and they're the lions. So if he goes in, Hurts rolls his ankle week 3, has to miss 1 week, Pickett starts. And they're playing, I don't know, somebody average, right. Tennessee, something like that at home, okay? And they're down 10-3 at half. They're going to kill that guy. They're going to tell him, if you don't win this game, we're going to tear you limb to limb, and he will start crying. Well, I can already see it.
That's why they traded for him, because it's going to be, you're going to just hand it off to Saquon 50 times, and we're just going to roll with it.
Pretty much.
That's what's going to happen.
Even Saquon's like, I'm going to tear you limb from limb if you don't complete a pass. You think A.J. Brown was mad last year? Wait till Pickett gets in. You wait.
Turns into Tyson.
Oh, yeah. He's going to take him out.
Going to eat your children.
I'm going to eat your babies. All right, I'll be right back. Bram watches Joey's ESPN 630 Sports Capital. Hi, everyone. Have you noticed how good my hockey team is? Hi, everyone. We went out west and slaughtered the Flames. Did you see it?
Slaughtered the Flames?
Yes. We doused them.
There you go.
All right. Caps win. Looked good last night, too, doing it.
Real good last night.
Ovi scores twice last night. Because, let's see, 20 goals, 19th straight season. Is that what it is? Something like that?
Only player to start his career with 19 straight 20
goals.
Seasons.
He's like, God, what did he have? 6 through the first half of the season? Something like that. He's up now over 20. So he's looking like himself again, which is nice, which means he's going to end up 25 to 30 by the end of this year. And now we're back on track for he needs one more good year. 30 goals again.
30-ish.
And then he can then he's in line to not have the pressure of scoring 40 to do it. It's still not going to happen next year. It would happen the year after.
Right.
But now I'm feeling like the first couple of months, I'm like, oh no, like this doesn't look right. He looks like himself again a little bit. And the first goal, the second one was vintage.
Yeah,
vintage power play,
Yep. Office.
The first one was, oh, look at that.
Yep.
Nice redirection.
No.
Caps looked great last night.
No, I think it's the most, maybe if hockey was bigger in the country, the most underrated storyline would be Ovechkin's turnaround here. Because it's not like he had changed anything. He just wasn't himself. And for whatever reason, he has now picked himself back up off the mat. And he looks like old Ovechkin again. Like, that is what elite athletes do. And I think it was Neil Greenberg that I saw from the Post tweet it last night of saying, like, this is what greatness looks like. A guy that we had dead in the water, projecting to score 15 goals, scored 20 and 21 last night, and all of a sudden is right back to where he should be. And not only that, leading a team to a playoff, a possible playoff berth here. I'm not going to count it until they actually are in, but the fact that he has them competing like this, what a season for him all the way around, not only on the ice, but off the ice as a leader, too.
They were dead a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
The schedule doesn't read well for them. They had this West Coast trip, and they come back. They have a lot of home games, but they're all against playoff teams. Almost all of them are against playoff teams. Hard. And some of them, like, where they run into trouble, like they played Edmonton out there. They get Toronto next. Toronto can skate circles around people, so it's going to be a tough one for them. But they got a lot of this, and there's not a lot of margin for error. It's been helped that Detroit fell off a cliff. Okay, that's helped them.
Right.
And then I don't think the Flyers are any better than them. So this is good that they're on their heels and they've got them. Like, I hope it happens, obviously, because there's nothing like playoff hockey, even if they sneak in. I got a hard time seeing this team putting together a run, but it's strange. I mean, they felt dead in the water. Their coach was constantly talking about how they had to win in these stretches, and they didn't. And then they weren't closing the gap enough along the way. And then they traded people, which is always a signal of we're looking ahead to the future.
Didn't trade everybody, though,
not everybody, right? But I saw one report that said Pacioretty refused to go to the Rangers, which is why he's still here.
Right.
And then who else? Like, they didn't trade Dowd.
Dowd was the big one. That
was the big one that didn't happen. They probably just didn't get a deal they liked.
Maybe. I mean,
they didn't trade Lindgren, which I think would have been the signal of we are done had they done that, because they need both goaltenders right now. So that would have been the signal that they were done. And some of the younger guys, because of a couple of these moves, have come in. It's injected some life into them, and I'll give him a lot of credit. I love Carberry too. I think he's kept it together. And I agree with you. Ovechkin looking like Ovechkin, even for a short period of time here, is the catalyst for all of it. Yep. Like, if he's going to just be half in it, skating around, not a real threat to score, a liability on defense, well, hate to break it to you, but you just at some point you got to be like, I don't know what to do about this.
Correct.
But now he's at least engaged and he's being impactful again. And again, the first goal was better than the second one, honestly. So.
Yeah, he also almost had a sick assist. I think it was to Strome, where Strome had just barely missed it because the goalie thought Ovechkin was going to shoot it. He's doing the playmaking thing again, which we saw a couple years back, where his assists now are just as sick as the goals at this point too. I think what's happening too, though, is they honestly just have more consistency throughout the lineup now. Hendrix Lapierre, I saw a stat last night. He's the third highest scoring rookie since February, only behind Bedard and some other rookie. Like, the fact that they are now getting the scoring from their young guys, and Lapierre's on the same line as Ovechkin, and then you add in the Connor McMichaels, Protas of the world. By the way, the real shining star of all of this has been Ivan Miroshnichenko, the first-round pick from a couple years back, who sneakily now is very physical on the puck too. And Carberry was actually talking about him the other night, that he's barking out orders in English to some of these guys. So it's all the young guys being very empowered to take on their roles a little more seriously as well. So
they're a point ahead of the Red Wings. So they passed them, so they'd be officially in the playoffs.
Correct.
Now.
Yeah, they moved into a spot last night.
They also have a game in hand with them, so that's the good news. They're 2 ahead of the Islanders. Islanders have played the same amount of games. They're now 1 point back of the Flyers, but they're so essentially in a tie with them because they've got a game in hand with Philadelphia. Right. So they're essentially tied with them. And now Tampa's only a few points ahead of them. They've played the same amount of games.
Right.
I mean, again, there's not a lot of margin for error here. Even Buffalo's still alive. There's not a lot of margin for error here, but they're in a way better position than they were 2 weeks ago.
The problem was a couple weeks ago when you and I were looking at it, was there was too much traffic in front of them.
Correct.
Now there's no traffic in front of them and 2 spots that they could actually get in on now. So it's completely flipped on them of how they get in as well. They could either get in as that third spot or as the second wild card spot. So we'll see.
Detroit has lost, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8 of 9.
Yeah.
8 of 9. And listen to some of the scores of these games.
Yeah, it's bad for
6-3, 4-1, 7-3, 5-3, 4-0, 7-2, 4-0, 5-3. They beat Washington 8-3.
They got,
and then fell off
apart.
A cliff.
Fell apart. It's baffling. I don't know what happened.
That's crazy.
Yes. By the way, for the games that they have this week, listen to this. So tomorrow they have Toronto, right?
Uh-huh.
Toronto, though, plays in Philly tonight. So you get them on the second half of back-to-back. How about this? On Friday, they get old friend Evgeny Kuznetsov and Orlov. They get Carolina on Friday. You know what happens on Thursday? Carolina plays the Flyers. They get them on the second half of a back-to-back.
Oh, so that's good.
Sunday, same thing. They host Winnipeg. You want to know what Winnipeg's doing the night before? They're playing at the Islanders. So actually, the tough schedule is going to shake out a little bit better, at least for the next 3, because they get them all on second half of back-to-backs.
And all at home.
If they can get their you-know-what together, actually, this week could actually turn out really well for them. They just need to play their game now.
And then, here's the Flyers. Their next 5 is Toronto, Carolina, Boston, Florida, Rangers.
Yep. Right.
All playoff teams, all high-level, all cup-contending teams, all of them. And then 3 of their last 4, they lost to Tampa 7-0, Toronto 6-2, and Boston 6-5. Like, they're getting throttled right now.
Well, they've gone full torts now. Today, Tortorella announced for their game against the Maple Leafs, he's scratching Sean Couturier, their captain.
Oh,
so they're going full.
Oh, so they're
losing their minds.
Wake
now.
it up.
Yeah. They're losing their minds though. You don't scratch your captain unless you're really trying to send a message to everybody. That's happening. I don't foresee them staying in a playoff spot from here on out.
See, their next 5 are really tough. Yeah. Toronto at home, at Carolina, Boston at home, Florida at home, at Rangers. After that, if they survive that and they're right there, Montreal, Chicago, Islanders, Buffalo, Columbus, Montreal. All teams not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's a good stretch.
So, but they got to survive these next 5. Right. Capitals' schedule is not pretty. even I like that they're getting teams off the back-to-backs. So it's still not pretty, and those are tough teams.
Of course, but you're also, softening them up so when you're at home that you end up getting them. So we'll see.
All right, take a quick break. Bram watch the show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. I was happy to see that Chase Young got a contract with the New Orleans Saints, and he got all his money guaranteed. 1 year, $13 million. I think he did pretty well, actually. As predicted here, I didn't think he would get a long deal from anybody. I know that was what was prohibitive for Washington, regardless of who the staff was going to be. Just, his medical history was going to be prohibitive for this team to commit to him long term. And after he was traded to the Niners, I wanted to cautiously, because I know enough, and which is why I feel comfortable talking about this today. I knew when he went to the 49ers that it was a rental.
Yep.
Like there was no way.
Yep.
Like unless he was going to give them a crazy deal. I actually think he did pretty well here with the guaranteed money.
Did you see the stipulation though that he is undergoing a procedure?
That's what I'm going to get to.
Okay, cool.
That's what I'm going to get to.
Just want to make sure.
So yeah, so that another reason why I'm like, I think he got a very good deal here.
Yeah.
As someone who's in and around the team, I was aware of some things that were going on with him outside of his knee, which was a very serious injury that he overcame. Like that was not a typical ACL tear. That was a very serious knee injury, and it threatened his career. They had to repair both knees. They had to do something with his other knee to fix the one that got hurt. Like it was that bad.
Yeah, right.
And that's why it took so long. I felt for him when and it was bad. And you'll recall like in the year he was coming back, like he was skittish to get back out on the field.
Yep.
Like and because I don't know that he trusted it. Then what happened in the summer last year was at the time didn't seem that big of a deal. It was a neck stinger. Remember, he started missing some time with it. And as things progressed, it became pretty clear that it was more than that. And so I was not surprised today when they did announce that he is undergoing a procedure. I don't know exactly what the nature of it is, but I do know that it was more serious than, and the teams, they're not going to lead on that it's serious, but it was serious. And this stinger thing was a little scary. And it was another reason why I was worried about him and tried to say a lot like, I don't think we can re-sign him. I think there's some medical things going on here that, maybe we should just be cognizant of and maybe just stop criticizing his play a little bit because his health is what's most important here. And I thought because of all of this that he would get like a 1-year show-me deal, low base salary, tons of incentives. You get a bunch of sacks, you play a lot, playing time probably more than anything.
Right.
I was surprised he got the number he got, all guaranteed, and I want to credit him and his agent for doing that because New Orleans is tacitly admitting today, we know there's an issue with you, and we're willing to do this anyway. Guarantee the money no matter what, which is a bit surprising because he's undergoing a procedure that they say is going to keep him out until training camp minimum, and it's on his neck. And again, without, disclosing much of what I know, and I'm not a doctor, so it's not like I've seen his x-rays or anything, he had a serious thing going on there. So much so that like they had to do a procedure today to continue his playing career, at least feel safe about it.
Right.
So I'm happy that they're addressing it. I'm happy he got his money, and I hope he's ready by the time the season rolls around, and I hope he doesn't suffer any more injuries. But I think this is why I've been soft pedaling for a long time. Guys, he's not coming back here. I'm a little concerned about his playing future from what I knew. I'm a little concerned about it. I'm a little concerned for him. I just want him to be healthy and well. I like Chase a lot. He's a good guy. It's unfortunate that the number 2 overall pick did not become the franchise-defining player that we thought he would. There are a couple reasons for that, and one of them mainly is injuries. It goes to the top of the list for me. Like, I don't think he ever got a chance to become the player that we hoped he would become. Everybody wants somebody just to show up and be amazing. He wasn't being given much of a chance to develop. I thought Rivera was not off base in criticizing him for his, he used the word maturity.
Yep.
And I didn't think he was off base in doing that. Like, I think I could parse out a lot of things I think Rivera did not do particularly well. But with him, all he was trying to say nicely was, we expect more of you. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that message getting across to him. And hopefully, his work ethic was going to change in terms of being in the building and doing what they're asking him to do, which was some of the issues that they had with him. But they understood his talent, and they knew that if they could develop him the right way, he could become a Bosa or JJ Watt or whatever. Sure. They thought they could have that with him. Then the knee injury happened. And the knee injury was a really, really bad one, like an unusually bad one. I didn't think they did him any favors when they said in the spring, the year after he hurt it, that, he could be back by training camp, when they knew full well he couldn't. And I thought that they were making a mistake, and I didn't like that for Chase's behalf because I'm like, well, now you're going to get everybody asking about something, and Chase Young is going to look like he's not quick to return when that was never the case. And I thought I was critical of Rivera at the time because I knew this, and I'm like, you guys know he's not going to be ready for the start of the season. Just say that. Take the pressure off yourselves and take the pressure off of him. They told me back in that spring We'll be lucky if he's ready for the start of the season, and it's more likely he'll go on PUP, and which means he will miss the first 6 games minimum.
Right.
And if they had just said that, I think they would have taken a lot of pressure off of him, and there wouldn't have been all this swirling. Well, why isn't he playing? Why is he doing this?
Yeah.
And then when they got back to finally got off of PUP, they did the same thing where they were trying to get him to go on the field. And then there was a point where I agreed with them. Come like December, he was ready. He was medically cleared. Multiple doctors looked at his knee and they told him, you can play, you're safe. It would take an unusual incident to hurt it again. But I think mentally he wasn't ready. And I get to see, or I did, we'll see with this new staff, but I got to see more of practice. You know, I appreciate that Rivera allowed me in to see more of practice than most of the media. And when we had these reports that were like, he's going to come back this week, and I'm sitting there watching and going, no, he's not. And it wasn't because he didn't, you know, he was nervous. It was like obvious. And then Rivera admitted it and was like, by the end of that season, they were like, we can't hold your hand anymore. You just got to play. And it turns out he was fine and actually played, remember, pretty well in that San Francisco game. And at the end, he looked fine. And that's when I felt like, okay, he needed to just play. He was nervous. They were scared he wasn't going to protect himself well, and he's just going to get run over and get hurt. Maybe not in the same way, but a different way. And that's why they were slowly bringing him back. They finally got him. Get over the hump. Get over your fear. Just get out there, be a football player again. Don't worry your knee's sound. We promise it. And he did, and he was fine. And I was excited, you know, for this last year because he really got himself in shape. By the time the spring rolled around, I didn't love that he didn't participate in all of the OTAs and all that stuff because I really thought he should be there. He could be face of the franchise, you know, like you want him to be there, and he didn't, but he was in incredible shape. And when he did show up to the mandatory stuff, he looked fast again. He looked like himself again. And then this neck stinger thing happened. And at first when you hear these things, they happen all the time. Like you just take an awkward hit and it's, you know, it's like, you know, there's some nerve issues. And so in preseason, you just shut it down. Like, you know, like stick him out there in a preseason game, like doesn't matter. But as things kind of progressed and Rivera was not great at this, communicating this stuff, it became clear this was a little more. And as the season approached, I started getting told, back off a Chase and don't pressure publicly about him playing or anything like that. Like there's a little, we can't tell you obviously, but there's a little more to this. So today when they announced that he had a neck procedure, I was the least surprised person because I knew.
Yeah.
And I just hope that this works for him, and I hope it allows him to have a very long career, or as long as he would like to play, because as of the middle of last year, whether they traded him or not, I knew he wasn't going to be back, and it had everything to do with his health. And it had nothing to do with his ability or upside or any of that stuff. And I really hope that whoever performs this for him gets him in a place where he can play safely and healthy, and he can maximize his potential, and I hope he does really well. And I'll reiterate, I think he did, all things considered, you know, that the Saints gave him $13 million guaranteed, knowing he was going to have a neck procedure and might not be ready as training camp begins. That's a pretty good deal to give him because they're admitting they don't know whether he's going to be healthy enough to start the season for them. And they gave him $13 million guaranteed.
It was one of those things, if you were paying attention, you knew something was up because when the trade happened, remember, he and Montez got traded within an hour of each other, right, that day? Literally, I think it was the next day, they tweeted out their, goodbye to Sweat, and then it was cleared. But it took like 3 or 4 days for chases to go through, which made the red flag go up if you were paying attention of, there's something going on medically there. And they finally did tweet out, thanks, Chase. Yeah,
I can tell you that.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I'm not San Francisco's doctors. I don't work for their team. I don't know anything. But from what I understand, they were fully aware of the risk by putting him on the field and therefore had to think about it. But they already did the deal. Bosa, used to play with him. Nick Bosa used to play with him. Apparently stood on the table for him and was like, just bring him in here. He'll be great. And this was one of the issues I knew going in with the trading part of it was, when he goes to the other team, they're going to put him through medicals and they may not like what they see here with his neck and his knee. And I don't think the Niners did either. But they went through with it.
To be fair, they did only give up a swap, right?
Correct.
Like at the end of the day,
I think if this was a
like straight up second-round pick, something like that,
I think they would have negged it.
Yeah, right.
But because it was a compensatory pick, and because he had played through the season, remember, it wasn't like he wasn't playing. He was. Yeah. There was just a level of, and I was nervous about this, like because I knew what I knew. I was nervous about it. I just didn't want to see him get hurt again. Yeah. And especially a neck injury scares you. The last thing on earth that I hate the injuries, but a scary, debilitating, life-changing one. Yeah. I hope I never am part of that. I am nervous that could happen in any game. Sure. Like it happened to Alex Smith, and it's frightening when this happens. I have seen bad injuries, but I've never called a devastating one. And these are one of those when like I remember at the end of Peyton Manning's career when it was very obvious that he had nerve damage. And I'm sitting there going, please retire, because if you get hurt and they cart you off of the field, it is going to hurt the NFL irreparably, because it's going to be an all-timer getting taken off the field that way. And everybody knew he had a neck injury. And it's like, please. And with Chase, it was one of those things. I don't know the extent of it, obviously, but I knew it was serious. And I was worried. Like, please, please, please not have a devastating injury in the middle of a game to someone that prominent. Right. Like, we just cannot have that to anybody, really. But
sure,
you know what I mean. I don't want to see it happen to anybody, but like for the league's sake too, it'd be terrible if it's someone of that level where it happens. So I was nervous last year, and I knew going into the trade deadline, they're going to look at him. Yeah. And from what I knew, they weren't going to like what they saw. But the Niners went on with it, and then that's why I kept saying, like, guys, they're not going to sign him long term. Like, there's just no way. Like, they've already paid all these people. There's just no way. And it's why he had to go do visits. Remember, there wasn't the money just thrown at him. Yep. He had to go do visits, and the Saints have signed on and gave him real money, knowing there's a risk with him. Sure. But I wish Chase the best. I really do. And I hope he gets his career back on track. But I do know that, like, there was some information there that gave me a lot of pause about his playing future. So I hope he gets everything going, and we'll see him this year because we're playing down in New Orleans.
Yes, we are.
And I think, like, you know what? He's going to look good in that jersey. That's going to be a good look for him. Black and gold.
It's a good looking uniform in general.
Yeah, yeah. Like he's going to look scary in that one. He is. He's going to look scary in that one.
Darked out visor.
Oh yeah, like he's going to look scary in that one. So good for him on that. I saw a quote from Jimmy G, who signed as the backup to Matthew Stafford. Yep. I think it's a pretty good pickup there.
I called that, actually. I said no matter what was going to happen, he was going to end up with McVay somehow, because McVay likes him.
Yeah.
That's
exactly I was kind of like, I wouldn't be surprised if McVay was interested in Howell, like when he was up, because it's like, how many more years are you going to get out of Stafford? That's right. And you got Hal sitting in the background. You can give him at least a year, maybe two, to learn the offense and all that stuff, plug him in. I actually thought that would have been a move. Or even if Minnesota had a better starter, if they still had Cousins, I actually would advocate they should probably go get Hal for a couple of years. Anyway, Jimmy G, I saw a quote from him, and he said, they asked him, like, why go here? And he actually cited what Baker Mayfield did in the short period of time with the Rams to turn his career around when he went to Tampa was one of the main reasons why he wanted to go and play even as a backup, because he looks at it as, this is kind of like the old Saban car wash with the coaches. The coaches would go to them, and they'd come out of it, and they'd end up having these opportunities in front of them, even after time had passed. Lane Kiffin, Bill O'Brien, Loxley, of course, like Loxley had a terrible run out in New Mexico or whatever it was, went back to Saban, got the Maryland job. Lane Kiffin went to 18 different places, ended up, but went to Saban, car washed. Bill O'Brien, same thing. A bunch of people have done this through the years with him. It sounds like McVay is getting a reputation of, come here, hang out, I'm going to clean you up, get you back out there. And Garoppolo's like, I'll do it for a year, and I'll end up being a starter somewhere else.
Difference, though,
that's
is
what he thinks.
Baker, number one overall, really talented. Has always shown he's talented. Jimmy G, though, what is his ceiling, though? And he's getting a little bit up there in age. Always been a backup. I mean, he can say what he wants.
Jimmy G?
Yeah.
He's been a starter most of his career.
Well, sorry, I shouldn't say always been a backup, but he started out as a backup, then was elevated to that point.
That's because he had the misfortune of being drafted to Brady's team, and Brady going, I'm never going to let you see the light of day.
Right, but then did Lance beat him out? I forget how that shook out.
Well,
he
got hurt.
That's right. Yeah, he got hurt, and then.
I mean, he was clearly drafted to replace him.
Yes,
but and Jimmy G got hurt.
Yeah, and then
they played Lance, and they
like,
found out he
yikes.
wasn't quite ready for prime time.
Right.
It turns out that the 8 games he played in college at a low level wasn't enough to just translate over into the NFL.
Shocker.
That one didn't work out.
I'm just saying, I think Jimmy G, a little bit older than Baker, at least more years in the league. Ceiling isn't as high as Baker.
No.
He can say that, but I'm not really buying it.
There were no starting jobs for him.
Yeah.
So I think he's looking at it the right way. He goes, if I got one more shot to sell myself, I go here. Stafford ain't playing 17 games. Right. He's going to end up playing a couple games at some point. McVay probably feels really good about this because he gets him for a few games, got him at a cheap rate. And if he polishes him up and he looks like he could be a starter for a year or two for somebody, he'll have one last shot to do that somewhere next year.
Let's be honest here. He's signed there because it's L.A.
Maybe. Vegas, L.A., San Francisco.
He likes the West Coast.
Right.
He's porn star Jimmy.
Yeah. He's like, he ain't signing with the Titans.
No. God,
he's not doing
that.
Well,
Titans, maybe. Nashville, maybe. But like,
he ain't doing Jacksonville.
No. Duval, no, he ain't doing that.
He's not going back to the Pats.
Right.
No. You want to back up Josh Allen? No. Right. I don't actually. But we're really good. But no, I don't.
Maybe either New York team could see that.
Okay.
But that's about it. Like, that's as far as
he wasn't in that Pittsburgh thing.
No.
He's like, no.
God, no.
He's like, y'all you need 2 quarterbacks.
That was Kevin Durant. He didn't pick up the phone when they called.
No. He's like, isn't he from there too? I think he's from there. I think he is actually. Hold on.
Funny. But he's not going there. Carolina, no. He's not going there.
I'm pretty sure he's like from like Pennsylvania or something like that. Illinois. He's from Illinois.
She ain't big enough for Chicago.
No, look at him.
Seattle.
He likes being tan.
Yeah, no.
Nice haircut.
Yeah.
Hanging out. Restaurants at the water. He likes that.
Yeah, that's his lifestyle.
Vegas was cool. He liked that.
Yeah, Vegas, great. 1 year. Yeah. One and done.
He's living in Malibu. He doesn't care. He's in Santa Monica. He doesn't care.
Arizona,
he loves it.
No.
Oh.
He could, but he's rather go to there.
Don't underestimate Scottsdale. That place is nice.
It ain't L.A.
No.
So that's what I'm getting at.
It's not L.A. L.A., Miami. He might have done Miami, maybe. It's a different vibe, but it's the party scene's there. He might have done Miami.
It's a different party scene.
He ain't coming here.
It's a different party scene.
He ain't coming here.
No, he's not. Definitely not coming. Baltimore?
No. Hey, hon.
Definitely not going to Baltimore.
Hey, hon. We saw Jimmy G all right there, hon.
Owings Mill Garoppolo does
this
not
is
have
Stavros, hon. He's going to hang out with you for the day.
That Stavros bit would have been good, though.
Stavros with Jimmy G just going out on the town in Fells Point would be amazing.
Saying how handsome their quarterback is. That would have been a good bit.
Who's more handsome, me or Jimmy G?
We got the hottest quarterback in the league. Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good Stavros impression of Baltimore impression.
Ronnie. It's Ronnie from Baltimore is what he calls him.
Right. Yeah, Ronnie from Baltimore.
I can't believe they love that so much that they brought him to the AFC Championship game.
Why not?
He must be so mad they didn't make the Super Bowl. Do you know how many Radio Row interviews he would have been doing?
His status would have.
How famous he would have gotten during Super Bowl week doing the Ronnie bit the whole week?
Even after they lost to the Chiefs, that was a good video too.
It was amazing. Yes. All right, last thing from the NFL. Jerry Jeudy apparently signed an extension with the Browns. $58 million, 41 guaranteed, 3 years.
I did not see that. That one went under the radar.
Why?
That's a weird one.
What? Why? Why would you give him that?
Yeah, I don't understand that.
You have him, test him out for whatever you got him for. He has not produced.
What's Cooper's contract?
That must be popping up soon.
Coming up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good deal for them. They didn't give up that much for him.
They didn't give up anything for him. He's been good for them. But Amari Cooper also had produced in Dallas for a number of years. It's not like you didn't know you were getting a known quantity. Jerry Jeudy hasn't produced in Denver at all.
This is last year.
Amari Cooper?
Yeah.
So they gave Jeudy the money, but that we'll see if that's even a pure swap out of production. Jeudy hasn't had that type of production. Amari Cooper's produced for a number of years. Jerry Jeudy hasn't.
Right.
Why would you give him all that money now? Why? Why would you do that?
Yeah, not sure.
I don't know about them.
I mean, they're the super smart team, though. They're the analytics.
They do have a good team. I have to give it to them. They do.
Yes.
But they have done a few things where big level things where you go, what are you doing? And that's one of them. The Deshaun one, they had no choice. They're like San Francisco. They survived that.
Right.
He's done nothing for them.
Correct. Yeah, no. Flacco's been their best quarterback since that regime took over.
That's the other one. I meant to talk about this yesterday. I didn't even get to this. So Snoop Huntley signed with them.
Yep.
So did Jameis Winston.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's one too many quarterbacks now, isn't it?
I mean, you can have an emergency quarterback.
Right, but they have Dorian Thompson-Robinson too. That's one too many quarterbacks, isn't it? So, my ears perked up on that one. Are they trying to figure out a way to get out of that Deshaun contract?
It could.
Are they trying to? Because I don't think they can, because it's all guaranteed. I don't think they can. But why would Huntley sign with them after they signed with Winston and Thompson Robinson's on the roster? That's 4. Nobody keeps 4. So explain that to me.
Could be as simple as the Galaxy brains over there in the analytics department now know that backup quarterback has to be a bigger priority than it's ever been. I could see that being one of their things.
Well, they could have just brought Flacco back.
Could have.
They didn't. Right? So they chose not to, and I'm with you on the theory of Deshaun said nah.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
So they go get Winston. Okay.
Sure.
Right. Good backup.
Right.
I don't think he should be your starter, but good backup. He's fine. But then they sign Huntley. Why? Why would he? Let me ask you for him. Why would he go there? So all I'm saying is this is an under the radar one that doesn't totally make a lot of sense, and it makes me wonder: are they trying to finagle a way out of that Deshaun deal? And I don't know how they would get out of it.
I think they just think they're going full Galaxy brain.
But you can't keep 4 quarterbacks on the roster. That's impossible.
Why not?
And if you cut Huntley, he will get picked up by somebody else. That's not possible.
Why can't you?
Why?
Yeah.
4 on the roster?
Yeah, why can't you?
And what? Not have a kicker? What do you want to not have?
I'm just saying.
You want to carry 3 receivers on a Sunday?
They don't have they short a position group and keep an extra quarterback.
That's dumb. 53 is not enough. 45 ends up not being enough. So I don't know.
I'm just saying.
It takes one injury to one spot, and you are short quickly.
They're going full analytics, knowing they have one extra quarterback, and someone's going to throw them a 6th-round pick for one of them in training camp.
They're going to flip. They're pulling a Rizzo.
Could flip.
They're going to flip Jameis Winston to somebody, or they're going to flip Huntley to somebody.
Maybe.
Wait for an injury and just flip them. That's what. To me, it read like, are they trying to get out of Deshaun?
Last year, though, was the year of the backup quarterback. Like that, I think they're seriously.
I understand, but you don't need 4. I mean, if you do, you had bad luck.
Some teams did,
but you can't keep them all on your roster is the problem. You can't. In the end, you have to cut somebody.
Snoop Huntley's going to play wide receiver.
No. Why did he leave Lamar? Why would he?
I don't know.
What are you doing over there?